Hey guys, my name is Niki Cervantes, and I'm here to talk to you about participatory vendor evaluations, specifically step number 2, the one-to-one interviews. Before anything else, I want to talk about why we do participatory vendor evaluations. We do this because it's important to know what a facility needs in regards to their electronic health system, whether you want it to be cost effective, whether you want it to be super impactful on your clientele and their patients, or whether you want it to be easy to use. We do the participatory vendor evaluations in group settings. That way, you can get different perspectives on different kinds of people. People have different kinds of perspectives on what they deem as more important than the other. And with these numbers, an analyst can look at figures in a very roundabout way and kind of look at it at different angles. Um, with the group setting, you also get a variety of representatives of the organization. You have the managers who are going to be foreseeing the day-to-day basis of what's going on with the organization. You have the clinicians who are going to be using the EHRs every day with their patients. And you have the chief executives, the chief officers, who are going to be the ones who are foreseeing the operations and how effective the EHR actually is in terms of the organization. And participatory vendor evaluations work best in a systematic and uniform approach because it helps the firm know what they want in terms of an EHR and they know exactly what to look for. It helps the vendors cater towards the needs of the firms because they know exactly what they want. So step 2 is the one-to-one interview in terms of trying to do the vendor evaluations. The one-to-one interview is simple, but it's a very important part of the interview because it's the way that you're going to be able to gauge the credentials of the decision maker who's going to be ranking the different EHRs that you guys are going to be ranking. And the one-on-one interview is to help get a general idea of the decision maker's ideology or perspective, just so you kind of know where they're coming from. You kind of know what their perspective is, what their emphasis is on the organization, and from there you can hope to see how valid his opinion actually matters. So there are 5 important tasks in terms of the one-to-one interview. You have the introduction of the analyst, you have the introduction of the decision maker, tangible examples, arranging the attributes, and the importance of attributes. The introduction of the analyst is pretty self-explanatory. You just say who you are, what company you work for, why you're talking to the decision maker, what the vendor selection is for, and how to use the results. This is just kind of like an introduction. You just want to present yourself. Here's what I'm doing. Here's the company I work for. We're trying to look at an EMR because of this, and this. And we're going to use the results and hopefully try to choose an EMR that's going to fit for us, HR rather. Step 2 is the introduction of the decision maker. This is just to help define the roles. The analyst or the interviewer is just going to be record keeping, while the decision maker is in charge of the content/expertise. So the analyst is going to be asking the questions, and the decision maker is going to be saying why this is important, why this isn't important, because of these reasons. There's also a chance for the decision maker to present his credentials. This is just to establish whether or not his opinion actually matters. It has to make sure that he has some kind of experience in terms of dealing with EMRs and EHRs, and just to show that he actually knows what he's talking about. He has experience. Tangible examples are pretty concrete, just to help the user learn about what's going on with the decision maker's perspective. Let's say, give an example. Tell me about a system you liked and why. So this is through this question, you can get the decision maker to give you a personal experience of what he's done before, what he think he liked. Maybe it worked for the company. Maybe it was super user friendly and the clients loved it. Those are very valid answers. Another example is, can you give an example of something that you regret in regards to EHRs? Maybe they chose the wrong EHR because they thought it'd be nice to use because it was very cost effective, but ended up not working out, ended up lowering the production values. So those kinds of questions kind of just gets you a basic runaround on their experience on the job, and just try to get as much answers as possible, kind of seg into the more important reasons later on during the discussion. Helps determine which attributes are important. Like I said, just to help emphasize on what attributes that the decision maker emphasizes, and from there you can get a scoring scale which ties into arranging the attributes. Ranking the attributes step 4. Some analysts suggest using a hierarchy method to determine subcategories. This is just so that it looks more formal in terms of structure. Let's say you have, if you're talking about cost, you have cost when it comes to cost of production, cost of installation, and cost of actually maintaining it. So those are 3 subcategories, kind of just help clean things up just so everything looks more formal. This is also the step where you arrange the attributes of the possible levels, either from the range from best to worst. You get the intermediates, and you base it on a score from 0 to 100. Some vendors normally have numbers from 0 to some vendors normally use 0, some don't. It just varies case by case. Either way works. It's just to help determine how the scoring factor. So later on, when we add everything up, we can tie everything together. Last step is the importance of the attributes. This is when you actually decide how important the attributes are with each other. Let's say with the given examples, you have 3 attributes that the decision maker has chosen to use. You have the compatibility, you have the cost, and you have the impact on the business. According to this decision maker, he ranks compatibility the least just because it's easy to learn about a new system. He thinks it's more important to value in the cost. Like I said, maybe the 3 categories: cost of production, cost of installation, and cost of maintenance. Those 3 things are 3 times as important. And you have the impact on the business, which is the most important thing, because maybe that's the main reason that the analyst is trying to gather all these decision makers to make an important decision about the company's EHRs to maybe hopefully move to something else that has a better impact. I use the numbers base number 10 just because it's the easiest number to work with. It's simple math, so 10, 3 times more important is cost, so that's going to be 30. And impact is 1.5 times as important as cost, which is going to be about 45. This is just a good basis on how to get the numbers down. And we normally want to deal with percentages in terms of these, so you just divide the value with the sum of the 3 to obtain it. So compatibility is 12%, importance is 12%, cost is 35%, and impact is 52%. Just so with those numbers, you're going to be able to properly gauge how important things are, and those percentages will be tallied in the total group meeting, just so you know what's going on. After those 5 steps, the one-to-one interview is basically done. You've already introduced yourself, your mission, what your purpose, and you've gotten a familiar gauge on what the decision maker's ideology is, how his perspective is, what he thinks is most important, what's least important, and it's important to do this just so once you do have the group discussion, you have people with different perspectives, different ideals on importances. Maybe one decision maker values cost the most, while we have one that values cost the least. The different perspectives will help round out the knowledge of the basis of the EHRs, and will help the analyst learn better. And so after all these interviews, the last step is to obviously meet with the group and perform the actual vendor evaluations and use the percentages discussed and come to a conclusion. And once they run the numbers, hopefully they're going to be able to find an EHR that works best for them. Thank you. Have a great day.